While plaster work was being done in an old building on Main and Walnut in Bellbrook, Ohio, contractors discovered a wonderful thing that the waters flowing from the spring below the building not only was magnetic, but possibly healing. Tonight, we cover the medicinal history of the Magnetic Springs Hotel in Bellbrook, Ohio. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities presents the Hometown Haunts podcast. I am your host, Kat Cloco, and tonight with me are Christina Wald and Jen Kohler. They're in the shadows right now, but we'll be bringing them back in a little bit. First, our social media. You can find us at Sin Cabinet Curio on Twitter and at Cincy Cabinet of Curiosities on Instagram. And also, we are always really looking forward to hearing your own ghost stories, your hometown history, creepy cryptids, all that good stuff. You can send them to hometownhauntedmail@gmail.com. And you can join our Facebook group at Hometown Haunts. And we do have a ghost story. We have a hometown haunt tonight. Jen will be sharing that at the end of our topic. So, we also are an official podcast that can be heard wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to see us while we're doing this show, you can watch the video feed on YouTube. Hello, everyone. Yes, you can find us by searching Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities. Remember, Cincinnati is spelled Cincinnati for those of you who are not from the tri state region. You can rate and review us so that other spooky lovers just like you can find us. Link, of course, is in the show notes. Our show notes are very busy. Also, I can bring Christina on to talk about our next topic because it's quite exciting. Our Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities, Trails, Trains, and Terror is back from the printers, and the digital version has gone out to all the Kickstarter backers who pre-ordered the book back in October 2021. Christina, do you have more news about that?
We're waiting on a couple other little materials before we send stuff out and finishing everything up, but it's really exciting. We didn't expect to get it back this quickly. So,
Yes.
in a time when almost every Kickstarter that you've backed, you get a note every couple weeks saying it's not here yet because we're waiting on X,
Ooh.
Y, or Z. Fortunately, we feel really lucky that we've got it, and we'll be mailing to people soon.
Yes.
So now my hands are going to get all dry from all the cardboard as you pack it
Oh my
together.
goodness, those
It like
mailers.
drains all the oil out of your hands.
They do. I do remember when I used to work in a mail office, we had like this, it wasn't a lotion, but it was a little sticky tack to be able to
Mhm.
stick on your fingers so that you can open the mail and the paper so they also didn't dry out your digits. So maybe we should invest in some of that.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea because it really does drain your hands and I
Mhm.
can't imagine people that have thousands to mail out. I mean, most people use fulfillment if you're
Yeah,
getting
that
that
stuff
big,
gets
but
automated. We're not that big of an
we're not
enterprise
that big.
yet.
We're like still stuffing the envelopes ourselves. So,
Yes, lovingly.
yes,
Lovingly
everything is
folding every Gemini mailer
yes,
with
Wear
the
yes.
gloves.
really complicated little wiggle finagle that you have to do with the comic book mailers.
Yeah, they're really great though. I mean,
They are.
they make the book very. I mean, they protect anything. As a matter of fact, when I have spare ones, they're great to mail artwork out in. Like when you
They
have
are.
commissions and stuff, it's great if they're under that size because it really keeps them from getting, the
Yeah.
edges being bent or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's really nice.
Keep it
So
nice and
yay!
thick.
And of course, this leads us to issue 3.
Yes, and the new announcement is we have the lineup of topics for issue 3. And do you want me to read them off for everyone?
Oh yes, please.
All right. So, our topics for the third issue of the Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities are the Darby Lee Cemetery in Mount St. Joseph, Ohio, the Witch Hill in Alexandria, Kentucky, the Delta Queen's resident ghost along the Ohio River, the Trenton Hatchet Man of Trenton, Ohio, of course, the Oxford Light in Oxford, Ohio, which we covered in a previous episode, and the Allendale Train Tunnel in Ellesmere, Kentucky. Those are our locations that are available for everyone. This is, shall I say, our inaugural call out for artists and writers, Christina?
Well, we did have one last year, so second
Yeah.
one.
All right. So I'll get into the nitty gritty of this. If you or anyone you know is interested in participating in this year's comic anthology, proposals will open on January 19th. That is the day that this episode drops and runs until February 28th, 2022. So that's the last day of February. We're looking for those who are both an artist and writer, like myself, or artist and writer teams who live or have a connection to the Cincinnati metro area. The Cincinnati metro area, for those who may not know, contains the city of Cincinnati, northern Kentucky, southern Indiana, or the southwest Ohio region. Each proposal should be for a comic that is 3 to 6 pages in length with characters, settings, and a plot summary. Sample art is also helpful. I'm your editor. I really would like to see what I'm looking forward to. And please also link your social media accounts or portfolio. This is a paid position, and we pay competitive page rates for all of our work. You can find the proposal submission on our website, which is cincycuriosities.com. So that's CINCY curiosities.com. And I'm looking forward to reading all of your submissions and proposals. I believe we will be getting back to you by mid March. I have unfortunately put my notebook away that would have told me exactly which date it was.
I have March 28th written down in my
Okay,
notes.
March 28th. Happy birthday, Lady Gaga. Um, that will be when I'll be getting back to all the people who have, I don't want to say won positions, that's not right, who are getting to participate with us with the Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities. So, yay.
It's really exciting. I mean, after issue 2, I've been really excited about.
Yes.
The artwork and the stories are really amazing, and it would be great to level up each year.
Yeah.
And people can also email hometown or either of our web, or I guess cincycuriosities.com if you want to send us. We're also looking for cover artists. So if anyone has a portfolio they want to submit to cincycuriosities@gmail.com with a link. I mean, don't do art specifically for it. Just send us a link to your portfolio to look
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
You can give us maybe a CV or something like that too.
Yeah.
But we're planning everything, and it should be really exciting. Like we said, we pay the artists. We don't, this is not speculative or spec
Mm-mm.
art. We pay in advance, and then after the Kickstarter, we pay the rest of the page rate. And it's, hopefully after year 5, it would be great to even collect these into a soft cover edition.
Yes.
And there's a contract for everyone. And we want the artists to be treated well.
Yes.
Um,
This is a
you know,
professional enterprise.
yes.
We have all professional artists and writers that join our team every year. It
Hmm.
rotates. And that's what's fantastic is because we're having veteran illustrators that we already know in Cincinnati participating in this, like Kevin Necessary last year.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then we also had new artists and writers like Inky and Aziza.
Hmm.
So we like being able to introduce new artists to the promotion circuit that is comic book anthologies. But also, you can use this on your own CVs as a professional work that you've done. So, yeah,
Hmm.
it's a great, great entry level. Then you know how much your page rates and how much you should be paid. It's a good base pay.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, that was one of the things that was important to us doing this is that, I mean, there are a lot of projects that don't pay anything,
yeah.
and obviously those are not professional. I mean, those are more amateur kind of anthologies and stuff. But it's I think it's important that everybody get compensated for their creative efforts.
Yes, we're very much artist first, and artists meaning both writers and
Hmm.
illustrators.
Kat and I were discussing the other day that we want a certain level of the work to be. This isn't something that's Again, it's not like we're asking for free work.
No.
We have a very high standard when Kat goes through these. So
Yeah.
not to scare anyone from submitting, but
No, but what you can expect is me coming in once or twice a month to check in on your progress, to check on where to make sure the pages are in the template size so that
Mhm.
your borders or your panels don't go outside of that, to make sure your word balloons are flowing the way they should be flowing through a page, that they're reading correctly. And my brain, my dyslexic brain, will find misspellings very quickly in your copy. So, yeah, it's a I would say we're a fairly professional group to be working with. So you get
Yes.
a taste of what the publishing industry is like if you're new to it. And definitely submit. I love reading new proposals and meeting new artists and everything.
Mhm.
Um, Moving on, we have an event in March to start promoting. I don't know if you see this note right here. So I will be speaking at UC
Yay!
Communiversity on March 15th. Yes, the Ides of March 2022 from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And this is their continuing education, and you can literally just buy this one to attend a ticket to attend this one speech. You don't have to go through an entire semester worth of classes. But the cost is $39. It includes copies of both anthologies, though. So this is your chance to get 88 pages of pure good Cincinnati folklore and to listen to me speak between 6:30 and 8 p.m. live in front of your face for that hour and a half. I think I'm more entertaining in person than I am on the show, but that's just my opinion. Um, yeah, the class includes ghost stories, techniques of how I find and research all the fieldwork for every single topic that we do, even for this show, and also how the process of how we take all these stories, the research we do, and make them into the anthology that you all know and love and hopefully enjoy. So, we will put the link in our show notes. There is a very long link that I cannot read it all out right now because, oh boy,
It'll be in the show notes.
yeah, it'll be in the show notes. And also, please wear a mask when you attend. I have a yet to be vaccinated tiny tot at home, and I don't want to give him COVID because lung scarring, heart scarring, and brain scarring sound like terrible things. So that is my request that everyone wear a mask. Yeah.
Very smart.
Yeah. I have a bunch of N95s now. It's
Mhm. Everybody should have
oh
a couple in their arsenal now.
oh the world we live in. Anyway. So those are all our fun announcements for the show today. We had quite a few. That took
Well,
quite a bit of time.
and big announcements. I mean,
Big
this is a big deal.
announcements. And I am sure we will keep saying and beating
Oh,
that drum going, "Hey, these things are happening." So look forward to that for the
we
next
definitely
6
will be
weeks.
beating the drum.
Mm,
I'm excited to see what gets selected for the next issue. Who knows
yes.
what I will animate next time for our video?
Oh, so
It
many
could be something.
skeletons. I love
Yes,
those skeletons. TikTok
I
love those skeletons.
well, I mean, there's no way you can draw a skeleton and not be entertaining. It's kind of like
No.
drawing dragons, and skulls make everything more interesting.
Yeah. Oh, they
So,
do.
but on to the main topic.
Okay, so tonight's topic is the Magnetic Springs Hotel, which I discovered from our friend, I believe Greg Hand, and also Jeff posted something about this a while ago, I believe, as well. So, tonight's sources are the Dayton Herald, various times through 2 centuries, the Dayton Daily News, again, articles from 2 centuries worth of newspaper clippings, the Greene County Historical Society, and the Bellbrook Park website. Actually, it's the Bellbrook Sugar Creek Parks District website. So, we are going to learn about medicinal healing in the 19th century and into the 20th century and 21st, I guess, but not here. Anyway, the late 19th century saw a lot of advancement in the medical field and the medical sciences, but some medicinal traditions still stuck around, and one in particular was a medical bathhouses. Now, I do have a question before I get too into this. Have either of you been in a medicinal bathhouse before? Christina is nodding her head. Christina, where did you go?
Sorry.
It's all right.
Sorry about that. I can cut the lag out.
It's all right.
I've been to Ojo Caliente in New Mexico, which is right next to Taos, and it has like they have pools for all different minerals. Like you can
Mhm.
be in the mud pool, you can be in the sulfur pool. There's an iron pool. I forget. There was my friend Vanessa and I tried out several of them. You get like a day pass, and you could
Mhm.
soak in the different pools. And then I've also been to Baden Springs in Austria, which
Oh,
had a bunch of really nice springs and got a massage and everything. I
nice.
love hot springs and especially like healing pools and stuff. These are really fun.
Yeah. Were you fully clothed or were you naked as the
Um
day you were born running through them?
I wore a bathing suit at both places. I'm not comfortable enough to run around naked. You would think, but no.
Oh, and now we know.
Yes,
So
yes, I was fully clothed. Although, the mud, you'd have to wash your bathing mud pools are muddy.
yeah, they are muddy.
I mean,
They
but
get
there's a lot of
uncomfortable. You think sand is bad, mud is terrible.
Europe is like in Europe, it's very important to like they really are into it seems like in the US it's not as much anymore, but they're really into like getting the mud wraps and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like if you go to Romania and they have like by the Black Sea, it's supposed to be very healing to be wrapped in the black muds there. Like they're supposed to do all sorts of things. It's supposed to be very
Oh, wow.
medicinal.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I've been to bathhouses in Japan, so a variety of different ones, and, some were sulfur, some I know one that I went to in Hokkaido had a whole variety of water.
Mhm.
Every single spring was something different, so that
It
was
seems to
fun.
be pretty ubiquitous in a lot of different cultures.
It really is, and, like, one of the most famous places is Bath, England.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been to
So
Bath, but I didn't go to
so
the
you didn't
springs there.
bathe in Bath?
I didn't bathe at yeah, Bath.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been to Bath yet, so yeah. The concept is pretty every we all understand the concept. So these natural springs were very thought to be very beneficial for just bathing in and also drinking the water that came out of them. And this is a tradition that happens in cultures all around the globe. Wherever there is warm water coming out of the earth, there is somebody or maybe a macaque soaking in it. So, in many places, hotels would spring up around these natural springs and would become vacation spots basically, no matter where they were located. And it was for people to relax and unwind. And one such place, surprisingly enough, was in southwest Ohio in the very small village of Bellbrook. Bellbrook is adorable. I have been there. I want to take a moment, though, before we dive further into this, that there is Bellbrook, Ohio, and then there is also Magnetic Springs, Ohio, which is a different, separate village from Bellbrook. And they're 80 miles apart, about an hour and a half by driving, and in different areas of the state. So Bellbrook is in the southwest, and Magnetic Springs is above Columbus in the northeast or northwest, sorry. Uh, Both of them saw their populations and popularity rise in the late 19th century. Magnetic Springs, though, is still kicking and working like they have for over 100 years, while Bellbrook's Inns suffered a different fate, and we will find that out in a moment. Initially, the property in the northeast corner of Main and Walnut Street, back in Bellbrook, Ohio, was home to the United Presbyterian Church of Bellbrook and Sugar Creek. In 1883, the congregation moved locations and sold the property to a local builder, Andrew Bird. Bird had plans to remodel the building into apartments for lease, but it was during this remodel that his builders discovered something very interesting, that the water was magnetic. The story goes that a couple of laborers were working on plastering the basement and had left some of their tools to soak in a shallow well down there. When the plasterers returned the following morning for work, they discovered that all their tools had become magnetized. Well, that was pretty interesting back then, and Bird, when he became aware of the magnetized tools that naturally occurred, from a spring under the building, he changed plans very quickly and expanded the building into a 70-room hotel. In my, this was very big. It was in the shape of an L. And the hotel was named the Magnetic Springs Hotel in Bellbrook, Ohio. It opened later in 1883, but not without an issue, however. An article on August 29th, 1883, around the time when it opened, in the Torchlight newspaper, quoted an article from the Dayton Journal saying, "The visitors have consumed all the rations which the town contained, and many were unable to procure food of any sort." The Xenia Daily Gazette on September 5th, 1883, reported that the crowds continued to swell in Bellbrook, noting that the St. George Hotel, the sister hotel to the Magnetic Springs, was adding several rooms and that the billiard and pool hall in town had been vacated to make room for more lodgers. For a decade, lodgers spent the summer in Bellbrook, bathing in the waters and enjoying the natural beauty of the area. It is a rather nice area of Ohio. A trolley line was built between Bellbrook, Xenia, and Dayton just to accommodate all the vacationers from around the state and from around the country and parts of Canada. To purchase water there was no charge for the first 2 gallons initially. Additional amounts cost 5 cents per gallon. The hotel at first charged $5 a week for room and board for everyone staying there. On January 1st, 1884, the rates increased, as they always do, to $2 per day or $10 per week, basically doubling the price of staying there, or 25 cents a day if you're only taking part of the bath. An August 10th, 1883 newspaper article in the Xenia Semi-Weekly Gazette quoted a patron, "The bathing powers of this water is wonderfully healing. A prickling sensation is experienced by the bather as soon as he enters the water, very similar to the sensation caused by a small electric battery when one is receiving a shock. No soap is needed to furnish a lather as the water itself produces the same substance." I wanna know how they know what receiving a shock feels like to be able to equate the feeling, but moving on. On July 9th, 1893, catastrophe struck when the entire hotel burnt to the ground. Witnesses reported seeing a fire erupt at the hotel around 9:15 that evening and grow large enough by 10 p.m. that the flaming inferno that once was the Magnetic Springs Hotel could be seen from Dayton. The case sorry, the cause in the was from the water tank room when a coal oil lamp exploded. Fortunately, though, the structure and all the furniture inside were a total loss, but all the guests, including the owners who lived in the hotel and the neighboring residents, were able to get out unharmed. Actually, a few trunks were even saved from the building. Bellbrook, of course, was in shock that the loss of their major resort and hotel in the area. However, they recouped pretty quickly, and the Bellbrook Inn was built about 3 years later. It sat across the street on the northwest corner of Main and Walnut, but was half the size of the original hotel with a total of 30 rooms. It opened on July 27th, 1896, and quickly became a new vacation hotspot in town. This is also a place where a lot of the locals would have large gatherings and family reunions. And when you look through the newspaper archives for the Magnetic Springs Hotel and the Bellbrook Inn Hotel, it will just say, this family had this reunion that day, and this family had this reunion that day. And they named every single person who showed up. Also, when Magnetic Springs was open, it would tell there were articles saying 87 patrons came and dined dinner at the Magnetic Springs Hotel, and these are the people who were there, and list all 87 people. And I'm like, wow, printing must have been a lot cheaper back then by word because that it just goes on for paragraphs. So, around 8 a.m. on Sunday, November 25th, 1906, Miss Eliza Michi, the hotel's owner, arose and built a fire in the kitchen stove per usual, then returned to bed until the room was warmed up, because her bedroom was right next to the kitchen. I totally understand what she was doing. However, While she was dressing, she heard a crackling sound from the kitchen and hurried out to investigate, only to find the kitchen stove was in flames and quickly crawling up the wall. As she escaped with her granddaughter, the actual vent pipe collapsed on them, but they managed to get out. A bucket brigade was called and arranged. By then, the fire had raced up the side of the kitchen into the roof of the building, consuming large parts of it. But the fire managed to go slowly enough that Miss Michi and her entire neighborhood collective were able to get into the building, get a lot of the household goods out before they burned. However, she did lose all of her belongings from the old country. Old countries never specified in the article, such as her silver, diamonds, and other family heirlooms. There were no fire brigades in Bellbrook at the time, so the building was a complete loss. Miss Michi moved out and left the property as it was, a burned out shell of a bathhouse and a couple of outbuildings. Very sad to see that happen twice. In 1910, the 10-acre property was purchased by Councilman Mullen of Cincinnati to be used as a summer camp, also known as his private vacation home while he was away from Cincinnati. And there, the property kind of moves in and out of different ownership until 1963. Currently, the lot at 43 North Street, where the Bellbrook Inn used to sit, is the Brookside Garage. Bellbrook Park, which is 57 North Main Street, sits where the original magnetic springs flowed, with a water fountain indicating where the well was. The parkland was given to the city of Bellbrook in 1963 by Evelyn Brock, thus Bellbrook Park, not Bellbrook Park, and in 2011 it was turned over to the Bellbrook Sugar Creek Parks District. The Bellbrook Historical Museum is actually located right across the street from the garage. It is a charming and wonderful museum. I encourage people to go visit it. And if you love funeral history, the Crowell Funeral Museum is also located within the the Bellbrook Historical Museum. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it immensely. Jen, you'd love it. There's also an original log cabin, which is also super fun to go look into. And I hear from the many articles that I read that is customary when you're in the third grade and you live in Bellbrook, Ohio, you get to go visit all of that stuff, including the park. And if you are curious, yes, the water fountain, that is where the spring was. It is now tapped into the municipal water supply. So you're getting pure Bellbrook city water when you drink from that water fountain. And that is the history of the Magnetic Springs Hotel.
So, did they ever say what made the water magnetic? That just seems like it was very mineral heavy and perhaps unhealthy ultimately.
Nope, no one's ever done any scientific things. There was a mention in one of the articles, and oh man, I should pull it up. That let me see if I can really quick. Basically, Bird was adamant that nothing wrong there was nothing wrong with the water. It was the statement is, and this is from the Dayton Daily News back in 2013 when they ran an article about it. They wrote, the owner of the hotel, which would have been Bird at the time, assured the people that the properties of the water did not escape after it came from the well because it was not gaseous in nature.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and this was from an article by Rosalie Yoakum entitled "Magnetic Springs Attracted Visitors to Bellbrook," written in 2013.
So it's not there though anymore.
Nope, all of it is gone.
Hmm.
You can find there used to be up until, and I think I took some photos and screenshots for you. Some of the original signage, and I know I shared earlier today some of the original advertisements for the location. But yeah, the both inns are gone now. Now, if you go to Magnetic Springs, Ohio, I do believe they have one standing inn left. But as for Bellbrook, nope, those are gone now. The original cement pad where the Bellbrook Inn was, is now the garage that was at 43 North Street.
It seems interesting because, I mean, obviously the popularity of hot springs you can understand, and those are usually volcanically heated,
Mhm.
and like Ojo Caliente, obviously that means hot water, and those are springs that are heated,
Yeah.
by volcanic activity. And of course, there's lots of places in the U.S. I mean, Arkansas has, what is it, Hot Springs, Arkansas, or
Oh.
Saratoga
Oh,
Springs,
yes,
New
that
York.
one
There's
that's
like all these
famously
places.
haunted.
Yeah, there's all these springs places. Oh, really? What's it famously haunted by?
Yeah, a lot of different ghosts. Oh,
Hmm.
man. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Let me look it up, but
It's a cute little town. Um, but yeah, you
excuse
think
my
about so
clicking. The
many.
Crescent Hotel.
You hear all
Mm.
these. I mean, so many towns around the world are named after springs.
Oh, yeah. Like, I got Yellow Springs, Ohio. Oh,
Hmm.
man, it made it very difficult when researching it this week, when I would just, like, write Magnetic Springs. There's Magnetic Springs, bottling company here in Ohio. There's
Hmm.
Yellow Springs, Ohio. There's a lot of springs, and,
Mm.
a lot of people mention the word springs, especially during that time because of the
Hmm.
medicinal healing properties of them. So, it was interesting that these were magnetic. Usually, I hear about mineral springs being the
Hmm.
healing ones or salt lakes and stuff like that, but, magnetic was a thing.
Hmm.
It kinda concerns me a lot that you could bathe in it and, like, the water would bubble around you. I'm like, "Is that supposed to happen?
It
That's
sounds
clearly a
like
chemical reaction happening."
there was clearly something in that water that may not have been super safe.
Yeah.
It seems like in human history, people are always looking for things that have healing properties, and
Mhm.
one wonders how much they actually healed and how much they probably made things worse. I mean, this also comes to mind, and this might be a good topic for a future show. Mammoth Cave, for a while, they used to put people that had tuberculosis there.
Oh, that
Mm,
sounds like
mhm.
a bad
And
idea.
no, I'm sure it was terrible, but in fact, they thought it had healing properties and put people with TB in the cave.
Yeah. I know in passing, and it was mentioned in a lot of articles that rheumatoid arthritis sufferers did really
Mm.
well at these springs. They're nice and warm, so I could see why
Hmm.
that worked. There was one mention of the magnetic springs possibly leading to the death of somebody. I really wish I had clipped the article, but I didn't have enough coffee and I accidentally mi migrated away from it. I'll look for it again. But basically, there was a Cincinnati sheriff, I believe, who, had bathed at Magnetic Springs Hotel, and they were blaming his failing health on the magnetism of the springs and the moon becoming a new moon or a full moon, and the magnetism in the body was being attracted by the moon. You can see why I did not include this originally in my research. Um, and that he may die because of magnetism.
Well,
Hmm.
it's interesting because people still think magnets. I mean, you can buy stuff that has
Oh.
magnets to put on your wrists, to put
Yeah.
on your
Mm.
neck. Somebody actually gave me one of those for Christmas, saying, "Oh, this is supposed to be," and I was like, "Okay, is this meant to wreck my iPhone? I mean, what's?"
It's meant to wipe all of your credit cards. That's what it's
I
meant
guess
to
that's what
do.
it's for. I mean, but people still think like some of these things, like copper and stuff, have magical properties if you put them on your body or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, I got a lot of that when Wheatley was sick. I got a lot of and very well-intentioned, meaningful people trying to send me or they did send me medicinal cures that were homeopathic, and I'm
Hmm.
like, "I'm sorry to inform you that cancer cannot be healed from this. I can put a crystal circle around my dog, it's going to do jack for him. Instead, it will just confuse him and me at the same time." It was they were very well-meaning, I
Hmm.
appreciated the concern, that's where it came from, a place of concern, but as a very science-based person, which is hilarious because I see dead people, but yes, I very much believe in the power of science.
Mhm.
Anyway, yeah, so similar thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think that and back in the 1800s and before then, I mean, probably people did feel a lot of benefit from sitting in those springs and stuff, like relaxing, being in the warm water, and that sort of thing. Although it's hard to say, like some of those mineral heavy waters, if they would have affected the body adversely if you use them a lot or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
These
I don't
days,
know.
with pollution and a lot of factories putting very heavy elements into rivers and lakes, and thinking about fracking,
Oh
and
my goodness.
it's hard to say. A lot of waters have been contaminated.
True, true. Like that area does have a lot of paper mills
Mm-hmm.
along those rivers. So, yeah, who knows what was in the water? But this was a natural spring bubbling up.
Mm-hmm.
And without doing the actual environmental studies, it's really impossible to say. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's tapped into like this, they don't use the spring as a water supply. I don't want people to get confused. They just deter it. The spring is going back down into the earth like it had been, and no one's done a study that I found to break down the water basically. And it's been over 100 years now. So
Mm-hmm.
that may have changed as well. So it who knows? Just who knows? But it was an interesting point in our history here in Southwest Ohio. I know we still have the large, like, Baden Springs, I think is what it's called. And
Yes, and that actually is supposed to be haunted.
yes, yeah.
Somebody that for a future episode, somebody actually just visited. One of our listeners visited there recently, sent me a
Ooh.
bunch of photos and talked about it. So perhaps this season we might be able to cover it.
Someday we'll be able to visit those hotels.
I know.
They're beautiful hotels.
Well, investigating ghosts plus getting massages, pedicures, but
And a
investigate.
margarita.
Yeah, investigating while we sip very nice cocktails and stuff.
Yes.
I mean, you have to have the whole experience.
Yes, the entire thing.
Yes,
But-
yes.
Did
Ghost
you
hunting.
Hmm?
go ahead?
Oh no, I was just joking. Go on.
Did you guys ever see the movie or read the book Road to Wellville
Nope.
by
Yeah, I saw the
T.C.
movie. Yeah.
But the book is by T.C. Boyle, and it's all about the founder of Kellogg cereal and how he
Yeah.
was a health nut, and there was all, during that time it was all about health,
Yes.
and going to all of those getaway hotels where they would do the craziest things to be healthy,
Yes.
and it was a status thing, and
like the Starvation Hotel out in Seattle.
yes,
Yeah.
that lady killed a lot of people.
Yeah, she did.
And I don't think Kellogg did, but I think they were very big on enemas in that. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was very interesting book.
But the daily enemas were okay.
Yeah. I know of it because I grew up around Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is where Kellogg is. So,
Okay.
yeah, we all knew about.
Kellogg and everything that went on there.
Yeah.
Well, cornflakes were invented because it was believed that eating red meat made people more ornery. Not ornery.
Yeah.
It made them
Horny.
more excited. Yes,
Horny.
that's the word.
God forbid you're horny.
I know. So like also graham crackers, I believe, were also developed as a tasteless food that was supposed to make people less, frisky.
So
Of course,
weird.
they didn't put the sugar in graham crackers that they do today. But apparently, they used to be like they didn't have sugar. They're sort of like cornflakes and graham crackers are meant to be somewhat flavorless.
So
They're reminding me
cardboard.
of hardtack.
Yeah, it was supposed to be sustenance without emotion, I suppose. It's,
Well, that's no fun.
No.
yeah,
I mean, the tastes that make eating fun.
well, they
is.
didn't want fun.
No,
That's unhealthy.
God
Yeah.
forbid.
You don't want. I mean, they're unpacking Kellogg probably is an interesting psychological exercise, perhaps.
Yeah.
Probably.
I should say that the book it is fiction. It's not like a historical book. But it's funny. It's a little disturbing and really well written.
Yeah.
I believe his brother is who started the cereal company, right? Because he decided, let's make money off this.
Oh God, I can't
think
remember.
So.
Yeah, it wasn't the health nut guy.
Yeah,
that
he
started
wasn't
the cereal company.
Right, but
Oh,
same family.
okay.
But
Yeah.
he was really prominent anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that kind of reputation, it got out of Michigan, let me just say that. But think about it, the repercussions of what was happening at the time. There was so much development You had the
Mhm.
Industrial Revolution happening, and then you also at the same time had a medical knowledge revolution,
Mhm.
going back to our episode last week about body snatching. So
Mhm.
people were feeling very uncomfortable about being alive and what would happen to their dead people.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm going to say, just the anxiety about living has is just a constant human thing.
Well,
Mm.
I think health camps and stuff are have been around for a very long time. The idea
Yes.
of
Yeah.
wellness and camps, it still happens today.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's tons of places people go to quote detox and have
Yes.
and so
Yeah.
this is all part of the same sort of thing where people are like, I want to be healthy, and people spend a lot of money to be, and these springs were just part of that. I mean, they're still part
Mhm.
of that. And and it could be what the medicinal thing that it offers is you're relaxing for a week, and soaking in springs has to be nice. I'm sure a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff,
It was a
it's
social thing as well, and there is
yeah.
some classism that goes into it as well, because these are the people that could afford to go take an entire summer. We're not
Yeah.
talking about a weekend. The
Yeah.
entire summer, they would stay in this hotel and just take in the springs and take in. It's basically Dirty Dancing, just in
Yeah.
Hmm.
Bellbrook, Ohio, during the Victorian age.
Yeah.
It's they would just have fully catered dinners. It wasn't cheap. Also, like I noted that they doubled the price within the first year, within the
Mhm.
first 5 months, they
Hmm.
doubled the price, and all these hotels were like that.
Could you imagine every year for the summer, you just leave your house and go somewhere for 3 months?
Right.
I
And then you
just
would, of course, you'd be leaving some of your house um, maids,
Staff
house staff. Thank you.
did
oh, yeah.
was the Poconos is where that took place, right? Dirty
The
Dancing,
Pocan,
yeah.
yeah, that one's the
But
Poconos.
yeah, I think what it was in a lot of those cities too, like New York City. Like even
Yeah.
now in summer gets pretty stinky, but
Oh,
imagine
that's what
it.
the Hamptons were for.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
then
yeah.
that's
People
what
wanted to
Newport,
get
Rhode Island was for everyone in Boston.
Mm.
Yeah, it kind of gets stinky in the summer and hot, and so people would flee if they had means.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Obviously, if you didn't have means, you aren't going to your summer house.
no,
I
right.
want a summer house on a
I know.
lake.
I do too. I just like being able to go out and sit around a fire pit at night and not worry about setting my neighbor's house on fire, because the houses are very close where we live. But I
Yeah.
also
Mhm,
like living in the city most of the time.
Yeah.
mhm,
You
But
can't beat the convenience of the city,
no.
really.
Mm-mm.
But
mhm,
it would be nice to like just have that quiet.
mhm.
It's
Well,
what I grew up with.
as much as
Yeah.
I was saying I would like a time machine, one place you probably wouldn't enjoy much with a time machine is a lot of big cities in the late 1800s, early 1900s were just, you could see why people didn't want to be in them in the summer. They were just like a steaming pile of waste.
Of
Extremely,
typhoid and cholera.
yeah, that too.
Rancid.
What was
Mhm.
it and I don't have the statistic off the top of my head, but they said indoor plumbing and sanitation has added like 30-40 years to people's lives because, like you mentioned, typhoid and cholera and dysentery.
Oh, wow.
And like they
Mhm.
described, Chicago used to be like all dirt roads with wood on them, and so there
Mhm.
was, for the horses, there was like horse manure everywhere. I mean, you could imagine in the summer it was a little whiffy.
Yes. Yes, and not everyone bathed every day. Like,
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
these weren't public bathhouses.
Mm-mm.
These were very high-end bathhouses.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you could see why people wanted to escape the city for,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure when that stopped. I mean, I'm was it when did people stop leaving? I mean, people still go places for the summer, but
I think in
like
large it was World War One.
is that what
Mm.
kind of stopped a lot
Yeah,
of the?
because you had you had the Gilded Age, so the people
Hmm.
would who had the means kept going out,
Hmm.
but
Mhm.
that was a fewer group of people. And
Hmm.
then you had the Great Depression, which just stopped it dead in its tracks, and a lot of those places shut down. And they had the growth of Route 66 and all of that because people were trying to get west. And then I think really that's why in contemporary times we think going out and doing a vacation like that is very much a ritzy one percenter type of thing because those are the only people who are able to afford those types of houses.
And really, in the U.S., it's one of the countries in the world that people don't take long vacations. You know,
Mm-mm.
there was a meme that was going around where it's talking about in Europe, somebody will be like, "I'm going to hike in the mountains. I'll call you back in September,"
Mm-hmm.
and you know, like, and this would be in June, and then in the U.S., they're like, "I'm getting my kidney removed. Here's my text. As soon as I come out, if anything, let me know if I need to
Yeah.
do." And it really is an attitude like that,
Yeah.
which hopefully will eventually be overcome.
We need to lighten up on that a little bit.
Yeah,
I know.
not in our lifetime, I don't think.
No.
I mean,
Let people go off the grid for a
I
bit.
don't know why the US is like that, where it's work first. You spend the majority of your life working. And I resent that.
I don't know, because
Well, this is the country of Ford, as in the person.
that's true. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so
You know, everything needs to be monetized. And
I
stuff.
just
Yeah.
want to be rich and have a summer house like Biltmore. Why can't I
Like
have
Bill
it?
Maher.
I just want a cabin
I'm
like on a
kidding.
lake.
I'm
Like-
kidding.
like Bill
It may
Maher.
be heated. It may not be.
You know, my great aunt, she lived in Kansas City, and when she married her husband, he had this rugged cabin on the Lake of the Ozarks, and
Ooh.
it was a hunting lodge.
Mhm.
And it had it had a living room, a kitchen, and then it was 4 rooms, and at the end was a bathroom. It
Okay.
was just one, and then they did some renovations up top. They put a bedroom and stuff, and it was, hopefully it's still there, but it was the coolest place. I'd love to visit it when I could, and I really hope it stays that way and someone doesn't just tear it down and build some piece of
Yeah.
crap modern house on it, because it's stone.
Yeah.
And it has sinks in each bedroom.
Oh wow.
And I just loved it.
Mhm.
really
I
cool.
have always wanted something like that, because when we would go and visit, we would just sit out on the porch, on the screened-in porch, and look at the water. That's all we did,
Yep.
and talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My grandparents would rent during the summertime a cabin on Lake Erie, and it was always a different cabin. It was
Mhm.
whatever one was available.
Mhm.
And they would invite the grandkids to all stay.
Oh, nice.
And that was fun. I got pink eye, so that wasn't.
No.
But the rest of the time was a blast because they had this would be a group of cabins that were purposely for this to be rented just during the summer.
Yeah.
And there was a central volleyball / badminton court, and we could play that. And then
Now that sounds like a fun
that was
thing.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we would go search for some people call it sea glass. We call them mermaid's tears, the bottled glass bottles.
Yeah.
I found parts of a porcelain, which had been a porcelain cup because you had the blue painting still on it,
Uh-huh.
Oh,
but
neat.
it was very much worn. Like the sides were worn. Still have that just shard of
Yeah.
ceramics.
That's called
And-
mudlarking.
Ah,
Oh, is it really? I
mudlarking.
love
Yeah,
that. That's a great name.
It's people, it's kind of like going out with a metal detector, but you're going
Yeah.
on the banks of rivers and waterways to dig up what you can find. And I follow the hashtag on Instagram. People find the coolest things. This one guy
Yes.
found a skull. They find guns, so much jewelry.
Huh.
It's just,
I'm
it's
gonna start
amazing.
following that. That sounds
I'm
interesting.
surprised
Yeah.
I hadn't found a
It's like
body
a-
yet.
It's like a modern day archaeological dig.
That is exactly what
It is. And
Yeah.
I think you a lot of what I see, it's in London or
Oh.
England.
Yeah.
And
Along the
it's-
Thames.
yeah.
I can believe a lot of
so
that.
cool apparently a lot of garnets are in there. They find, people will have handfuls of garnets. I'm like, how do you find that teeny tiny little
As in the
thing?
semi-precious stone garnet?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It is so cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah. No, I
Well,
just found pieces of bottles. But
no-
I didn't know it was called mudlarking.
Mudlarking. I found out about it. Georgia had mentioned it on My Favorite Murder. because she wanted to do it when they were touring over there. And I'm like, that
So
sounds really cool.
Is that a British term then? It's not a U.S. thing.
It sounds like a British term.
It
does,
probably.
yeah.
I mean,
I don't
put
know.
larking or having a lark too often in things, but
no, I mean, could you imagine going down to the Ohio River and digging on the banks of the river?
There? No.
Yeah, no. I mean, their banks are different over there than
if
here.
you go mudlarking in the Ohio River, you'll come back with 11 fingers.
Yeah, or you'll sink into the mud and get stuck. I mean, there's not an easy way to get to it, really.
No. Not unless it floods. Then it's really easy to find it.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, we don't really have any banks to like.
No.
Is one of the things I miss. I know we're drifting off the subject, but just having dogs, and you would think there would be rivers and ponds for them to play in. There really aren't too many good public access points for that. Like you would have up in the northern Great Lakes area, where you got wherever you threw a stone, there would be a lake.
Yeah.
And a dog could go swimming in it without threat of leeches or weird amoebas. But anyway, that.
But a segue.
We have a ghost story.
I know we were talking about road trips earlier. We were talking about Route 66, and I think this kind of fits with that. So
it does.
Jen, you want to read it? Here, I'll move you here.
And I just want to mention the Blue Lagoon in Iceland apparently has good medicinal.
A reason for us to go to Iceland, our international podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, and, the volcanic beaches.
I can't wait to mudlark at a volcanic beach.
Hey, that's our wish. That's our wish.
Yeah.
I want to go see those black beaches and take
Let's
pictures.
throw that out into the universe.
Okay, this is from Tish. For some reason, I read that as Trish before, but Tish. So my youngest brother loves old cars. One day, a number of years ago, he drove past a used car lot in Southern California. He noted that there weren't many people there that day. He found the owner of the lot, and the man told him he could look around and check out anything he liked. My brother saw a 1960 white Cadillac Coupe de Ville that he was interested in. Since it was a hot day, he left the driver's side door open when he got in. After he got settled in the driver's seat, he looked in the rearview mirror and saw a ghostly female figure staring back at him from the back seat. He said he began to feel faint as he knew that there really was no living person there. He quickly got out of the vehicle, ran to his car, jumped in, and sped away.
I think
as I would do too.
Wow.
I think we would all do that.
Excellent story. Thank you for submitting that one, Tish.
Oh my God. It was such a good one.
That's an excellent story.
I mean, it some people are that maybe that person wanted to be seen. I mean, what's your take on that, Kat? If you saw,
yeah, whomever was in that back seat definitely wanted to
go for a ride.
Maybe go for a ride. Maybe that's what that ghost in person in life liked doing, because that sounds like a really fun car to be just cruising in. So
I hope they weren't murdered in the car.
I hope they weren't murdered in the car either, but that's just such a good story. It kind of reminds me of a hitchhiker story, but he wasn't going anywhere. It was
what was it called? It wasn't A Lady in White on Supernatural. It reminded me of that episode where you would pick up a lady hitchhiker and she'd take you back to a house and then she'd kill you.
Yeah, that was
there was a scene in the episode. Yeah, of her in the back seat and whatever.
Yeah, that like the hitchhiker or a hitchhiking ghost. That's a very well-known ghost story motif, and where you would find an article of their clothing, and they leave it in the back of their car, and then you go to the location that they had instructed to go to, and you'd find like the article of clothing on their headstone or.
So many urban legends.
You reach like the house that was where their parents lived, and one of the parents would open the door, and you'd say, "Hey, I have so and so's jacket," and they're like, "That person hasn't lived here in 25 years," like something like that. So,
and then goosebumps.
Yeah. So that's very much a motif, but this seems to be an actual ghost.
Oh, where'd you go?
I
Yeah.
muted myself by accident by thwacking my microphone.
Don't thwack your microphone.
Oh, I should never thwack your microphone. You never thwack your microphone hard either. Oh, we've lost Jen.
Sorry,
Anyway,
my mind is going to
so-
bad places.
Yes, it did. It just dropped right into it. No rolling, just a drop. Anyway, I can't remember where we were at now.
Sorry. I was going to
Well,
say, what I would like to know if Tish's brother,
Yeah.
if that was the first time he had ever seen that.
If this
I'm
was his
guessing
first
yes.
paranormal.
Yes. And what an experience to have. Like, I want to know if that changed his perspective on things, or like, does he think about it at night when he's half asleep and it freaks him the heck out? And,
I like to think that maybe somebody really loved that car and left some energy with it. I mean, it sounds like an awesome car. Imagine driving, your ragtop Cadillac around town and stuff. Perhaps somebody had a lot of really happy memories in that car. And still
just wanted to share it.
to it.
Yeah. No, that's probably.
Let's go positively.
Let's go positively. I like going with that they love the car so much they just wanted him to drive it off that lot and enjoy it just as much as they did.
As long as it's not like a Christine car and wants to kill everybody.
Positive thoughts, Jen.
Sorry.
Positive.
I was kind of, that's kind of an interesting thought, because a lot of times when we talk ghosts and stuff, you talk about trauma, but how often are people around just because like it seems like when we've gone to ghost hunting places, you have families there together and stuff. How often is it that maybe there is some sort of love or sort of a bond that keeps people there? Not necessarily malice, but maybe they like that place. Like you said, like one of the places we were at, they loved that house.
Yes. Yeah. I would say you run into that as much as you do with the living now, with families who like to be together and families that like being in home together. Definitely that warm feeling. And you also find ghosts, not to discount the ghosts and the people who like to be alone and find solace in being solitary and enjoy it that way. So just as much as you would with the living, because remember, the ghosts once were living. So
well, I got that feeling when we were at Doty.
Yeah.
That everybody was there because they lived happy lives there.
Yes.
And they had no intention of leaving.
Yes.
Yeah. Dead or alive, really.
Right.
Or if they did leave when they were alive, they came back when they were dead. Per our questions. Yeah.
Very much if you've watched the movie Encanto, which has just become very popular in the recent few weeks.
It's because all the songs get stuck in your head.
Yes, but the way the family bond is, discounting the magic bit, that's very much like with the Doty farm, how it felt if you were on that vibe with them. It was a family who they loved each other very much and were in everybody's lives, and you still got the little sibling bickering going on, the little sniping from time to time, but generally there was a lot of love there. No trauma at all, except for the one guy in the barn. But he wasn't with the rest of the family. They were in the farmhouse. Yeah. So, yeah.
He was with the machine, though, right?
He was with the machine.
Yeah.
I still think about him from time to time.
Yeah.
But that was different because those were all disparate items.
Right.
Yeah, those were all,
they
weren't.
Yeah.
They didn't interact with the Doty family.
Exactly.
So, Kat, if that had been you and you saw someone in the back seat of an old car, would you take the car out for a ride and try to talk to the person? Let's go.
Yeah,
let's have an adventure.
Hello, where do you want to take me? Basically, would have been the question I would have asked. Like, do we turn left or right?
Yeah.
Will this car start? How much gas is in it? Do I need to worry about an axe in the back seat? But no, mostly where do you want to go? Where are you? You're here trying to tell, like, you may be here wanting to go for a ride, and where do you want to go?
Yeah. So I think I had another experience.
Ooh, tell.
Yes, tell us.
Well, because I told you about Raindrop laughing and playing with me in Indianapolis. This was, I don't know, maybe last month, a few weeks ago. I was taking a nap after work, and I kind of woke up, and then I was starting to fall back asleep, and then all of a sudden I just heard my name in my ear. Jenny.
Oh. Yeah.
And then that was it. And I kind of opened my eyes and I'm like, okay. And then I went back to sleep. So tell me, do you think someone's trying to get in touch with me? It sounded to me like a female voice.
Okay.
But I don't know if that was more just my voice. I don't know. It got me thinking about spirit guides again, basically.
Yes. So I got 2 answers for you.
Mm-hmm.
1, this has happened to me before twice. 2, science can also explain what happened.
Okay.
So
tell me both.
All right. I will go with science first
Okay.
because I don't want to discount it. Basically, when we're falling asleep, our brains are misfiring in all sorts of directions. Not misfiring. They're firing in all sorts of directions. And they can bring up both just visual, auditory, and even smells while you're trying to fall asleep.
Okay.
So having like the old hag syndrome can be attributed to this from time to time. Seeing things when you're just waking up or just falling asleep. Neurologists can explain a lot of these as firings in your brain as you are transitioning between different levels of sleep. So that could have totally been what that was. It was basically your brain just remembering your name and just shouting it.
Okay.
Now, like I said, I had 2 experiences exactly what you experienced, which was in a drowsy state, I had something shout my name. So the first time was in 2010. It was in the morning and I was waking up and I had my dad, the day after he died, go, "Kate!" like that. And only 2 people in this world call me Kate, and those are my parents. And that thing, this hearing him shout it from what felt like the side, like the bedside of the guest room bed that I was at, I basically rolled off and fell off the other side of the bed. It was so loud and startling. Now, like I said, with the scientific explanation, my father had just died. This was the nickname that he called me. So it could have been my brain processing everything and just to shock me awake after such a traumatic and difficult day, it just decided to use my father's voice to get me out of bed. And I just remember thinking, "Dad, it's 10:30 in the morning. It's been a really shitty weekend. Let me sleep in." That was the train of thought I had. But I just pulled myself together and went downstairs and made myself breakfast. So, and my mom was still in bed. So that was the first encounter. The second encounter happened a few years later. And actually, speaking of lake houses, this happened at a friend's grandparents' lake house.
Okay.
So, my friends have grandparents. They are still with us. And they have their house. It's not they live there all year. But it is a Victorian lake house up in Michigan on a lake up there. It is very beautiful. It is just a beautiful Queen Anne style house on the side of this lake. And yeah, it's been in the family since it was built. So for over 100 years, basically.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. They cherish it a lot. It's not going anywhere.
Good.
So I was there for a wedding that had taken place of our friend and staying overnight in one of what would have been one of the kids, just one of the guest bedrooms, but it would have been one of the kids' bedrooms when they were younger. And I remember I had my headphones in because when I am sharing a room with my mom, she snores really loud. So I have noise canceling headphones in. And I'll just have the noise cancel on, not audio music, because my mom would be able to hear that and she complains. So I just have that noise canceling bit going. I had a set of headphones like these on, and I heard a man on my right side go, "Get out."
Oh my God.
And I remember shooting up in bed, and I'm sharing a twin room with my mom. My mom does not sound like a man. She sounds exactly like me, or I sound exactly like her. And I just looked around and I'm like, I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not going anywhere because it's 2 a.m. And I went back to bed.
Did you hear anything else after
Nope.
that?
Nope.
Did you see anything?
I did not see anything.
Okay, see, if I heard that, I'd probably freak out. But this was just my name right in my ear. And it wasn't like yelling. It wasn't malice. It was just my
Right.
name. But I had never experienced that before.
Yes, it's quite shocking when you've never experienced it before. Like I
Yeah.
said, I rolled out of bed out of
Yeah.
shock from hearing it. And those are
Yeah.
the only two encounters I've ever had with that. But both of them were when I and when you were in transitional sleep states. So
Yeah.
was it paranormal? Hard to say. But
I
they're
mean,
good stories. And I think I've just freaked out a number of our listeners with
good.
mine.
Yeah, that was creepy.
Well, when you talk about it being a transitional phase, could it also be like you're more open to experiencing stuff that you don't usually see?
And that can be argued by people who are into more metaphysics, that you're starting to either go into or arriving back from leaving your body.
Oh,
What is that
astral
called?
projection or
Yeah, astral
yeah.
projection. Thank you, Jen. And thus you are able to communicate with spirits around you better. And
Well, it made me kind of want to go to that place in Indy and find out my spirit guides.
I think we should go sometime when we can.
Yeah.
It's
I'd like to
safe
find that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that'll freak me out or not. My friend Ryan said when he went and did it, he kind of found out what he needed and he goes, that's enough for me.
Yep.
And I don't need to know anymore.
Yep.
I think spirit guides would be a great episode topic too.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually,
Yeah.
it may be a good one for one of our friends later in the season.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
I keep trying to, one of these days, maybe I'll convince my friend to come on and talk about her experiences because she has a lot similar to you, Kat. And it was her spirit guide that was playing with me. So, yeah, I just
spirit guide tea. That's what
yeah. Or maybe I'm just more open to things now. And
that may be when you start dabbling in the occult that you are now doing associated with us. Things tend to get drawn to that. One spirit medium I talked to said it's a lot like a lighthouse. Suddenly there's a beacon on the other side where it goes, I can see you, come to me, like that. So
no.
Yeah, and that's when you have to be able to start putting up like just
The
boundaries,
walls.
like a
Barriers.
healthy relationship, like any healthy relationship. You set boundaries.
Yeah.
Well, I always think of the line for Beetlejuice where it was in the where it said the living refused to see the dead. Remember in the hand guide?
Yes.
And I always think of that whoever wrote that probably was into that sort of thing, like mediums and stuff, because I think a lot of it is you refuse to see.
There is a lot of that.
Because it's hard to comprehend that. And I think that's why ghost stories are always scary. It has to be scary because it's the unknown. It can't possibly be positive.
Well, watching that
You
TV
know.
show Ghost, I think it would be rather disconcerting to see large groups of people everywhere you were.
Well, yeah, not knowing if they were
Well, wasn't
alive
that
or
the
not.
point of the Ghost Whisperer was to be very comforting with the dead?
Yeah,
That
but there
TV
were still
show?
some creepy things in that.
I didn't watch the show, so
Oh.
Well, I was thinking Ghost, the British show and the new CBS show that you said was really
Ghosts.
good.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
where the lady inherits the old house?
Yes.
Yes,
And
yes.
yes, I watched that. I thought it was really cute.
Yeah, I've been watching the
funny.
British one, and
Yeah.
of course, like I said, it's all the horrible histories people
Yes.
and writers, so it's very
Yes.
funny. Which
It
I
is very
highly
funny.
recommend watching
Oh,
horrible histories.
I think that's why I watched it because you recommended Ghosts. Yeah,
Yeah, I've
yeah.
just watched the HBO one. I haven't watched the CBS
Same.
one,
Yeah.
The CBS one is basically the HBO one.
Yeah.
Just
except without the cool people from Horrible Histories.
no,
I'm
but
a
there's
big
still a
fan of.
pretty decent cast.
I know. I love
don't knock
Horrible
them.
Histories.
Yeah. Well, on that note,
yeah.
I think I will just take us on out of here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on another wonderful episode of the Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities presents the Hometown Haunts podcast. I am your host, Kat Cloco, along with me, Christina Wald and Jen Kohler. You can catch up with us at Sin Cabinet Curio on Twitter, at Cincy Cabinet of Curiosities on Instagram, and please, please, please share your own ghost encounters or encounters with the paranormal, UFO stories, Bigfoot stories. We have to have cryptid stories at hometownhauntedmail@gmail.com. Also, join us at our Facebook group, Hometown Haunts, where we hang out and talk all things strange and spooky around Cincinnati and the metro area, which is really 3 different states. So until then, stay safe, stay spooky, and good night.